one artwork from Colombia, and this has been sent in by Felipe. And yes, this is it. It's not a painting, it's not a drawing. This has been a work of art. It is, of course, Play-Doh. Yes, and this is a mighty dragon. And if you can see down here, well, I thought that they were people, but further clarification, it's always needed. These are actually buildings. So if you can imagine the scale of this dragon, it is truly, truly enormous. And the second piece of art that I'm going to use today is this beautiful jaguar, or a giant cat. Might be a leopard, might be a cheetah, but a giant cat certainly. And this has been sent in from Fina. So I know that Fina is watching. I said hello to you earlier. So yes, today your art is going to be turned into a story. And Fina is 6 years old. So look at this beautiful, beautiful picture. And if you can see, I don't know if I'll come a little bit closer, but there are tiny little footprints on here as well. So maybe they will feature in our story. So how is our story going to start? Well, it's going to start off right down here with this little place, this little town with all of the buildings. You see, once upon a time, there was a village. And this village, or small town, well, all the people who lived there were very, very happy. They worked hard, they went about their daily business, and they got on very, very well together. And things were going great. When one day, they heard a terrible sound, a whooshing, and they looked up into the sky and they saw an incredible dragon flying down, and it settled right next to them. And they looked up at it and they said, well, what on earth are you doing here? And the dragon said, I am the ruler of the world and I have come to take over this place. And of course, the people were not happy about that at all. You see, they loved their land. They had worked so hard to build it and turn it into what it was. They weren't going to let it go without a fight. So they said, you think that you can take this off us? Think again. And so the dragon, well, he was furious and he began to huff and puff and blow smoke and fire. And the people, well, they were very, very scared. However, there is something in the world that is much, much bigger than all of us. And this thing has lots of different names. Some people call it God. Some people call it Allah. Some people call it the Great Spirit. Some people the sun. Some people nature. But the people who lived in this little town, well, they called it the Rainbow Jaguar. Because it was fearsome, it was huge, it was covered with the most beautiful shades of color, and this jaguar was king of the universe, certainly for these people. And they said to the dragon, we are calling our jaguar. And they did, and the jaguar came bounding across the sky, leaping from cloud to cloud, and boom, he landed on the ground next to the village, and he spoke to the people, and they said, Look at this dragon. He's come here with his big ego thinking that he is the king of the world, and he says he wants us off this place because it belongs to him. And the jaguar looked up at the dragon and looked back at the people and said, what are we going to do? And the people said, well, we have to get rid of him. Have a competition. You are our leader and we will do whatever you say. And so the jaguar said, how about we have a storytelling competition? And so they started. The jaguar told stories about the people who lived in the village. And the dragon, well, told stories about all the things that he had seen from the skies as he flew across the entire world. The jaguar told stories of the rivers and the lakes and the mountains and the forests. And the dragon told stories of time and how he had passed and lived over the last 1,000 years. And the jaguar kept on coming out with more and more stories because he listened to the peoples of the land. And the dragon, well, he began to run out of stories. And so, as the two of them battled furiously, suddenly the dragon ran out of stories. And he was so ashamed and so furious with himself that he decided he didn't want to go and find anywhere else. He thought he would stay right there. But he couldn't take the land of the people And so he turned himself into stone, and he became the very first mountain of the Andes. That's my story for you today. And that is inspired by these two wonderful pieces of art. So, Felipe, gracias por tu obra de arte. There's my Spanish for the day. And Fina, thank you very, very much for your absolutely beautiful rainbow jaguar and for saving this village and for starting the creation of one of the wonders of the world. Yeah, the Andes, extraordinary mountain range in South America. And seeing as we have had an artwork from Colombia and seeing as we have had the creation of the Andes, I thought I am going to tell a story from South America. Oh, I'm so glad. I've just seen a little comment that Fina, when she saw her picture, I presume she was very, very happy. Hello, Karen. I think Natasha is watching from Moscow. So hi, good to see you again. The story that I'm going to tell is a story from South America. And I have heard that the story is one of those stories that you find in different parts, but the story that I am going to tell comes from Brazil, and it's a story about the moon. You see, the moon was a very, very powerful god, and every evening as the sun was setting, the moon began to make his presence felt. He would rise higher and higher into the sky, and the moon loved to watch the people of the world, and he especially liked to watch the girls of the world, and every now and again he would fall in love with one of them. Maybe it was somebody whose hair was so long and black and straight it touched the ground and he thought, wow, look at her. Or maybe it was a girl who was studying silently by the side of the river, and when she looked up into the sky, her eyes sparkled with intelligence. Oh, he would fall in love with her. Sometimes it was a fearsome, feisty warrior girl, and when he saw how spirited and strong she was, he thought, wow. Girl after girl he fell in love with, and the ones that he really, really loved, the ones that he wanted to be close to him all the time, he would take them, cast down his moonbeams, and they would become stars, and they would float up twinkling and sparkling into the sky, and they would live up there with the moon god, and from their high lofty position they could also look out over the world. And so the girls wanted to be stars. They wanted the moon god to fall in love with them, and there was one girl in particular. Her name was Naya, and Naya, one evening as she was walking along, she looked up and she saw the moon beginning his ascent into the sky, and she thought, wow, look at how round the moon is, a perfect, perfect sphere. Look at the softness of the moon. Oh, look at how gentle, look at that wonderful glow, just like a ripe orange hanging in the sky. And she fell in love with the moon. And so every evening she would go out and she would sit and she would try to attract his attention. She would draw beautiful pictures. She would brush her long, straight black hair. She would jump into the river and she would swim and show off her skills. She would dance and she would make music. She tried everything. But no, the moon god never picked her. And she thought, what on earth I have to get the moon god's attention. This is absolutely serious. And so again, she would try, she would recite poetry, she would have conversations with her friends that she thought would attract the attention of the moon, but no, nothing worked. And she thought to herself, right, if the moon god isn't going to pick me, I am going to find the moon god myself. And off she went. She left her village behind and she started to walk through the forest. On and on and on and on she went. She didn't care about the dangers of walking through the forest, on and on. And whenever she saw a glimpse of the moon, she would climb up the tallest trees, and there she would look longingly at her love. And she would wave in the hope that he might see her. But he never waved back. She kept on going through that forest, and she started to cross the enormous plains. And she marched on, marched on. Her clothes were torn, her clothes were dirty, but still she tried to attract his attention, but it was just no use. She walked across an entire 5 countries trying to get the attention of the moon, and still nothing worked. And she was beginning to feel so miserable that she stopped eating, she stopped drinking, she would curl up in a corner and she would cry. She would enter into caves during the day just in case that cave happened to be where the moon god would sleep and rest. But no, she never found him anywhere, until one day she found a mountain, and she climbed higher and higher to the very, very top of the mountain. And somehow in all my stories there is a great big mountain I see. But she reached the very top of the mountain, and she looked down, and below her she saw the magnificent river, the Amazon. And there, right in the center of the river, she saw her moon. The moon god lived in the river. She was delighted, ecstatic. She raced down the mountain as fast as she could possibly go. I found the moon god! I found the moon god! She raced down. She had no care or regard for all the stones underneath her feet, for the leaves and the branches that tore at her skin. She had to get to the moon god. And when she reached the banks of the Amazon and she looked in, there he was. Ah, breathtaking, more beautiful than she had ever seen him before, glittering and glistening and glowing. And she sang out to the moon god, "Moon god, I am coming for you." And she dived into the water to find him. She went deeper and deeper and deeper, and so deep that she got lost in the water, and she was never seen again. And the moon god, when he heard about what Naya had done out of love for him, he wanted to respect and honor her in a very special way. He decided not to turn her into yet another star who lived up in the skies, but he wanted her to stay on the world so that he could gaze down and remember her forever. And so he turned her into the star of the water, an enormous giant lily. And the giant lily is about 2 meters long. It can grow very, very big. And for some of the smaller people, that's probably about 2 of you next to each other. That is how big this plant, this leaf can grow. And it can carry small children and little animals too. It's a very, very strong and beautiful plant. And the special thing about the giant lily, about the star of the waters, is that every evening its beautiful flowers turn a brilliant white. But in the morning, when the sun begins to rise into the sky, those beautiful flowers turn a gorgeous, soft and gentle pink. And so that is my story for you today, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please do share it amongst your friends. I'm actually going to be taking a break. I have had 8 days of straight storytelling, and my family would quite like me to join them for dinner. So I'm going to take Saturday and Sunday off, but I'm going to be back next week on Monday for the duration of the week with yet more stories. So if you have got some artwork that you want to send me, it can be anything. We've had our lovely Play-Doh dragon here. And we have also had this lovely rainbow jaguar from Fina, who is definitely watching just now live. So yes, it could be anything. It could be a sculpture. It could be maybe you've made some pottery and you want to show that and have it feature in a little story. So please do send me a picture of it. I'll print it off, and on Monday we shall start our stories again. But thank you very, very much for watching, and please do Google the giant water lily, because it is really quite a spectacular plant. Thank you very, very much, and I shall see you on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye.